So smart currency has been going since 1st of January 2005. We started with a small office on Oxford Street with just 2 of us. There's now 90 of us. And last year we turned over north of 1.5 billion. I was thinking about on the way up here, we probably have had about 30,000 clients who we've helped over those 13 years to actually do the same journey as you're doing now. So it's actually been very rewarding, and many of those clients I can still talk to today who are our first clients. I'll come back to that in a moment. Some of these are very self-evident, but it is interesting how wrong they can go. This one, manage your foreign currency exchange risk effectively, is something that I write about it every day, foreign currency, and I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, because 90% of the market is speculative. I was talking to Richard earlier. One of the best examples I can give you is December 2016. And nothing happened in December 2016, apart from all the speculators thinking that the European Central Bank was going to increase their quantitative easing. And then they did nothing. But all the speculators were betting that sterling was going to gain 10 cents against the euro. The exact opposite happened because they all raced for the entrance at the same time. So that's why we can sit here and think, I can talk very eloquently about what's happening, but the reality is you just don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. Boris could say something, Brexit agreement could be reached, who knows what's going to happen, but that's what you're in the lap of the gods. That's why you really got to manage your risk. When you work out your budget, as was mentioned, the 8% costs, on top of the property costs, then you've got to do your exchange calculation. Then you've got to sit there and wonder, will the currency move by 1%, 2%, 3%? And what about if it goes against you? I know I find it very painful if you suddenly have to find another 5, 10, 15,000 pounds to do your purchase. That's why we always talk about budget, managing your risk, and why you talk to someone like Smart Currency is to manage to find the right solution. A forward contract is a very, very powerful tool because you know exactly what your cost is going to be. So you're not sitting there worrying about what Theresa May is up to, what is happening with the politicians, what's happening with the economy. It's just, as I say, I can't stress it enough. Put your mind at rest by actually really, really understanding that you don't have to sit there watching the screen day after day after day. We are doing that for you, and if you talk to our traders, they will be very helpful, very communicative, and they understand what they're doing. And if there's urgency in what you need to do, pre-funding your account is very helpful as well, because it then means things can happen immediately. But as I say, it's not rocket science, but just realize that currencies can move very, very quickly. Yesterday, it moved 2 cents in the morning because Carney had said on the evening before there may not be an interest rate rise in May. Suddenly 2 cents movement, and people were waiting, hoping that suddenly it's going to go to 115, 116, 117. The euro suddenly it's back at 113 again. That's what happens. That's how quickly it can move. So don't take risks is my one conclusion. I say I'm very fortunate because I have dealt with a large number of people over the years who live their dream. And I've just had one of my first clients who moved to Cyprus 13 years ago use us to come back to the UK. So he actually, as he was coming back to the UK with his euros, he turned them back into sterling. But he'd had a wonderful 13 years out there. He just decided it was time to come back to the UK. But he'd done everything correctly because he'd used relevant experts to do it when he did it. It's incredibly important. But we have another client who came from this part of the world, the Northwest, who lives in France, who does his monthly payments through us. And we don't talk to each other because we have a regular payment plan. He transfers his pensions each month. We exchange it for him and we send it on. And it's very efficient, very quick and easy. And it just, it's one of those simple things that people sometimes we think we just deal with the larger transfers. We don't. We do deal with all these different types of transactions. And again, it's being able to, if you're doing a whole range of renovations, we've got one client at the moment is doing £1 million project in France, and he wants to, it's just spread over a good 12, 18 months. So he's made sure he has no currency exposure on those payments. He may lose, he may win, but he knows exactly what his budget is now. So he's not worried about the sterling cost increasing. So again, that's why it's so important to make sure you're on top of these things. And we have a very powerful product, which is a 12-month forward contract where you can buy, say, £1,000 of euros at a fixed rate for the next 12 months. So we set up a contract, £12,000 in this example, and each month someone transfers £1,000, they know what the euro amount, and off it goes. So it's a very powerful product, and I can assure you it's a great planner for making sure they don't suddenly lose out with movements in exchange rates. As I say, we've been going for 13 years now, Smart Currency Exchange. But when we set up the business, it was a complete anathema to me why you allowed your traders to earn commission out of the money they're making in that trade. I've never understood it. I've been on various FCA courses, and the whole rule change in the city was to remove that anathema. But from day one, I've never allowed my traders to earn commission. They're well paid, they work incredibly hard, but they have to give exceptional service. And if you go onto Trustpilot, even I'm amazed at some of the things that are said about them, because they're just so effusive, so helpful, so positive. As I say, we have no debt in the business. We have segregated client accounts, which are actually more secure than your bank accounts, because they're effectively held in trust, the funds. Whereas, as I say, we've never had any debt. Again, that's been a complete anathema to me. Why would you run a company with debt? Never understood it. You want to be in charge of your own destiny at all times. Senior management checks, we now live in an environment where both the HMRC and the FCA regulate us. So we go through endless checks about our backgrounds, et cetera, and they keep on saying we're fit and proper. But I mean, it's a world of difference from when we started 13 years ago. Literally, all I did was send a check off to HMRC, and that was it. Off we jolly well went. So the world has changed. And again, form a relationship with your dedicated account manager. All of them may seem very young, but actually David, who's my senior trader, that still looks about 12, but actually is 30 now. He's always looked about 12, but I mean, he's very skilled, and all of them are very capable. As I say, we've dealt with 30,000 clients over the years, all living the dream, and it's incredibly important to do it properly. So I've been very lucky with them. They are very hardworking and live up to that first word there, dedicated. And this is a very simple example of what can happen in a 40-day period. As I say, who knows what the reasons were for that movement, but it just can quickly happen. As I say, it's beyond me at times. I was talking to a couple before about, yes, when there's a number of people standing out Northern Rock, you're fairly confident that the sterling is going to weaken very quickly. But those, what are the triggers for these events? I have no idea at times. Suddenly just something happens and off it goes. The speculators, say, all caught in the wrong position. They all have to run for the entrance at the same time, and that's when you see very, very quick moments as they're kind of trying to cover their losses. But, it is painful, to suddenly have to find another £7,500 because something you have no control over, or you thought you had no control over, actually happens. But if you would put a forward contract in place at that rate of 119, which is very straightforward to do, you would have had no worries about, you would have not cared about currency at all. You just said, okay, that's sorted, now I'm going to focus on more important things of the whole move and the legalese and whatever, just making sure it happens and you move over happily. So you feel a bit miffed if it goes the other way, don't you? The pain of losing, well, it's a good question, but the pain of losing money is much more extreme than the euphoria from gaining. I can show you conversations over the years of where am I supposed to find that extra £7,500, and you've begged them not to think that they can guess the markets. We have a large corporate business, and it scares me to death when a finance director says, I know where currency is going. I was finance director of a listed company for 8-9 years, and I never took any risk on a currency, because how do you know? You just don't know.
50-50. A lot of people do 50-50, don't they?
Well, yes, you can hedge it. As you say, you can reduce your exposure quite effectively. But it's if you've worked out your budget and you're confident you can afford what you're doing, I'll take the risk off the table and just say, yep, we're covered, we're happy, let's not worry about it.
Same sort of principle as a fixed versus a variable rate mortgage, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, another thing I used to beg clients not to do was take out a Swiss franc mortgage in Cyprus when it was all the rage because of an extra 0.25%. And people have paid back twice as much as they had to because they didn't realise there was a currency exchange exposure in there. That's why I say never take any risk on currency. You just have absolutely no idea what's happening. And your account managers are dedicated, but do go through in detail with them. Tell them what your budget is, so they're fully informed. As I say, we could be up at 130 in 6 months' time against the euro. We could be back at parity. I have absolutely no idea. We do a very detailed forecast for our business side, which we send out to all our clients, potential clients. An opening paragraph literally says, this is nonsense. You look at all the bank forecasts and they're all going in different directions, and these are by highly paid professionals who've got huge resources and none of them can agree. So just don't underestimate how difficult that is. And I think that last bit of guarantee to afford your dream, as they taking that risk off the table, knowing yes, I am confident I can afford that, is just makes it much easier and means the dream is actually a reality, not to be underestimated.